This is our Geo homepage, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. So the first thing that you want to do is click Begin New Assignment. You've got a whole heap of options here. So if you are wanting to do the PV and battery form together, you want to click the PV plus battery. Of course, if this doesn't apply and you are looking to just do a standalone PV submission or a standalone battery submission, that's also fine. You just click the relevant option there, but we'll go to the combined form for now. To start off with an address, I'll put this in. And then you're just putting the system owner details in there. So we'll just do an individual one for today. But if you're doing an install for a business, you'll obviously go ahead and put like a corporate body in there. But we'll just do individual. You've got the option here for a client selected reference as well. This isn't a compulsory field, but if there's a certain way that you refer to a job internally, you can go ahead and put one in there. I'll call this one test. And this will create the form. So most of you will be familiar with either a PV or a BAT reference number. The combined form is a GS reference number, so generation and storage. So if you're giving us a call about this one or an email, just quote that reference number there at the top. And so it's pretty stock standard compared to the other forms, just a little bit more information to put in given that we're combining the two. So a handy thing to note about the combined form is that we've made some improvements to using retention of title. So that's where you've got a system owner that is GST registered. So for those of you that have used retention of title invoicing previously, you'll be familiar with having done like the paper form signature for that one there. But we've actually now got the retention of title agreement can be issued electronically on Geo now. So that's a handy improvement. That's on the standalone battery form as well. So just thought I'd mention that one quickly because that's a pretty nice improvement. But we will just leave this how I had before. Okay, obviously the phone number and email are required for the agreements, but we'll just leave that for now. So installation date, this form can handle 2 different install dates. So if you're doing the PV on one day and then the battery on another, the form is capable of doing that. Just something to keep in mind though, that the form will prevent you from issuing any agreements until the second date has been met. So if we put PV as today and then the battery as tomorrow, the 29th, you won't be able to do any agreements until the 29th. And if you do submit a form with 2 different install dates, you'll need to provide us with 2 different compliance certificates as well. Residential, okay, go to connected to the grid. These are all just your standard questions that we need to provide to the Clean Energy Regulator. So you've got your PV questions first, then it moves on to the battery install. We'll just say that it's all being done today, so pop in the date there. Our PV modules, so just as normal, putting the panel that you're installing, we'll just pick this one. Panels, let's just say 10, just a little install, and then your watts per panel. So if you hit save, we can now see that we've got 31 PV STCs based on this. And then you've got 10 serial number buckets for your installers to use the app to scan the serials into. So that just works as it previously did. You can go in and add your inverter. Just picking the first brand that comes to my mind. One inverter, and then again scanning the serial number as you usually do via the app. So that's the PV component sorted, and then we can just go ahead and fill out the answers to the battery questions. So yes, it uses VPP capable components. That's generally no. And then here you've got your option to search for your battery product. So aware that this these products don't make any sense altogether. Again, just picked the ones that have come to my mind straight away. You'll notice here that we've got this question about, are you adding capacity to a modular stackable system? This aspect here is sort of in development at the moment. So you just want to go and put no. Even if the answer is yes, just leave this as a no for now, because it will create some issues with the STC calculation. So I'm sure most of you received my email the other day. If you haven't, I'm happy to answer questions about this later on. But the Clean Energy Regulator did make some changes to how they want us to submit stackable products such as the SIG Energy. So at the moment, you've got a number of batteries and you just put one because it's one battery system. And that is what is calculating the STC. So at the top, we can see we've got 290. However, what the regulator now want is for us to have the number of batteries as the number of modules, and then they want to us to provide them with all of the serial numbers for those modules. So that is all in development as we speak. So at the moment, we've just been receiving your submissions and then changing them manually on our end when we upload it into the rec registry. But I just want to flag that because there will be some changes to this shortly. So in the meantime, whenever you're installing a stackable system, just make sure that your installer is capturing photos of all of the modules because we do need those for the submission. So basically how that will change is that there'll be a couple of other questions about, are you adding a modular or non-modular battery? And then in the modular example, instead of putting one battery, it will ask you for the number of modules. So for the SIG Energy 32 kilowatt hour product, that'll be 4 modules, and then it will give you the ability to scan 4 serial numbers in, which will be for the modules. But that will update will be coming out soon, and we'll send out some further information when that's arrived, but I just thought I would flag it. For now, continue to do what you're doing, i.e. just putting one battery in there, and we'll fix it up on our end, providing we've got all the serial numbers. Say yes to the inverter. So if you're not installing an inverter with the battery, you don't have to provide that information, but obviously on the combined form, an inverter's going in. So we'll just pop that in. Now that is a different product to the one I put up there, but again, this is not real. And then we go down to the installation team. So something really important to note at the moment with the combined form is that it will only allow you to put one install team in. So they need to be doing the PV and the battery. It's got to be the same person. So soon, so it's grayed out here, as you can see. So that this functionality will be coming soon where you can put like one installer for the PV and one for the battery. But for now, it is just the one. So if you do have a situation where actually I don't have any licenses associated. If you do have a situation where you've got 2 different installers working on the same form, you will need to do 2 separate installs, but that shouldn't be for too much longer. So you've got your installer there, and then they will be added to on-site automatically. So for this one here, we don't have it on the back end that our demo installer, Nathan, which is one of our colleagues, hasn't got the on-site access on there. But what should happen is that the on-site user will be listed here. We can just go ahead and add him in so that this job will show up on the app. Lastly, we've got the retailer section. So obviously just filling out that information there. Again, if the PV system and the battery system were purchased from 2 separate retailers, which I think won't be a super common occurrence, the form isn't able to accommodate that at the moment. So it does just need to be from the same retailer if you're using the combined form. Again, that functionality will be coming out soon. So that's grayed out there. And then that is essentially the form. So just, yeah, filling out the battery and the PV details. So the installer can now take all of the photos just under the one job on the OnSite app, which is pretty handy because obviously if you're doing the two separate forms, it does ask them to fill out two different jobs on site. Something really important to note though is that they will need to make sure that they capture 6 unique selfies. So the Clean Energy Regulator regards a PV job and a battery job as 2 separate installs. So as you can see here, we've got it set up and this is reflected on the app. Like the PV installer selfie for the job setup and then the battery installer selfie for the job setup. So yeah, they are looking for 2 unique photos there. Something that the Clean Energy Regulator has been doing is doing like a paperwork check of the battery form and checking the photos, and then they ask for that information for the PV form as well. So they do compare the 2. So just really important that we are capturing those 6 unique selfies there. And so that, yeah, it will ask for that on the app. And then we've just got your battery and inverter signage evidence. And then we've got the different sort of activities down the bottom here. So these will come up once you put the product in there. So we've put in the SunGrow product. So it will now ask for the inverter like installed and then the serial. Same for the PV modules here. This will only come up once you put the product in. And again, the same for the battery. So obviously you want to put these in before the installer goes to site anyway. So that way the fields come up for them to scan all the serial numbers. But yeah, just important to note that they won't get these photos if there's no product in there. And then the documents, all pretty standard. It's just your installation invoice, your compliance certificate, and your proof of NMI. In terms of the agreements, they have been combined, so you don't need to send 2 consumer agreements, one for the PV and one for the battery. They are combined together. We did confirm with the Clean Energy Regulator that that would be acceptable. So that's why if you've got 2 different install dates on there, you've got to wait till the later one, and then you're able to go ahead and issue the agreements electronically from the system. So that is essentially the new form. James, did you have anything to add?
I think it covered pretty much everything.